Love blinded me long before betrayal opened my eyes. Lyra wasn't born into money, she married into it, into me. I was a self-made man, the founder of Ardent Industries, and she was the flame that burned too bright to suspect. Her laughter filled every corner of our penthouse, and I mistook the echo for devotion. Then came the forged contracts, the hidden accounts, the late-night phone calls she silenced when I entered the room. The night she poured my drink, I didn't question it, she smiled too sweetly for suspicion to survive. When the poison took hold, she leaned close and whispered, "You should have never given me power you couldn't control." She watched me collapse on the marble floor, her silhouette framed by the city lights, her shadow stretching long and thin like a blade. The betrayal wasn't loud or violent, it was elegant. When I woke again, I was back at the start, 20 years younger, still in the cramped apartment where I drafted my first business plan. The city skyline outside was unfinished, the company I would one day build still just an idea in my head. Lyra hadn't met me yet, but I knew she would, and this time, I would be ready. I played my role carefully, tracking her rise, her habits, her ambitions. I met her again at a charity gala, the same one where she'd once charmed me into a lifetime of ruin. This time, I smiled differently, a man who knew the ending but wanted to rewrite it. As she laughed at my jokes and slipped her number into my hand, I thought, "You won't burn me again. You'll burn for me." I moved slower than I had in my other life, patience had become my new currency. I rebuilt the small things first, the ledger skills, the quiet midnight meetings with accountants I trusted, the habit of reading contracts until the edges blurred. I watched where Lyra's eyes lingered, who she flattered, which board members she whispered to when she thought no one listened. I learned her language, the way she softened her voice to charm a donor, the exact phrase she used when she wanted a favor. I let her believe she was still pulling strings while I threaded mine through the places she never bothered to look. Sometimes I stood across the room and let the memory of my own death wash over me, it steeled me rather than shattered me. At night I drafted scenarios like a playwright, rehearsing the reveals until each looked inevitable. We married again, only this time I built the empire with her name on every liability, every signature, every silent trap. Her confidence grew as mine appeared to fade, the same dance, but I led the rhythm now. I fed her ambition with new ventures, all funded by her greed and my false affection. When the audits came, every crime pointed to her, the embezzlement, the tax evasion, the offshore accounts. As the sirens wailed outside our mansion, Lyra screamed my name, realizing too late what had happened. The press ate the story like wolves, headlines that once lauded her charm now called her a con artist, a fraud, a traitor to the trust one had given her. Her friends, the ones she had schmoozed for years, lined up in court to testify against her, their faces blank with betrayal. I had arranged every witness, every ledger, every recorded confession so that there could be no doubt and no sympathy left to spare. She tried to bargain, phone calls from the jail, promises she would pay, names she offered to give up, but I had closed every door before she ever knew she could. At the hearing, when she reached for me with those same honey brown eyes, I met them with stone, there was nothing left to say that could save her. People who once toasted her success whispered instead about the small cruelties she'd used to climb, and those whispers became testimony. In the end they did not only take her freedom, they took her stage, her audience, the very theater of power where she had performed. I should have felt triumphant, instead a strange stillness settled in me, as if the world, finally righted, expected applause I did not have the heart to give. I burned the letters she had written to me, the ones that had once smelled like jasmine and later like betrayal, and watched their edges curl into nothing. I had wanted justice, and I had manufactured it with patience and ruin. On the balcony that evening I let the wind take the ash and thought of the man I had been and the man I had become. Reborn to avenge myself, I had learned to be precise and patient, I had learned that sometimes settling the score asks more of the soul than the deed itself.